Looks like Daredevil's back, but is that a good thing? Let's talk about it. Hey there, this is your Matt Doodle to my Thomas Hands, Doodle right here with another video, and today I'll talk about Daredevil, Born Again, Episode 1 and 2, and everything I liked, I didn't like, and things I feel like I'm going to slowly enjoy. Now, when the show was first announced, they were going to basically say this is a completely new Daredevil. It's nothing related to the one in Netflix, so it was supposed to be all fresh. But they were still going to have Charlie Cox as Daredevil, so that was interesting. The suit was going to be similar to the one in Daredevil, so that was weird. And they were going to say that, Karen and Foggy were not going to be in the show at all. Either they were going to be killed off screen or just never mentioned. And it seemed like there was a huge outburst about it, to the point where while they were making the show, they had seen what they had. Apparently, it wasn't good, and they had stopped production and basically started from scratch. It looks like they still had some stuff from the previous idea, because at the moment it does feel like a cobbled up mess at points. And you can tell by the first few episodes, it feels like basically another reshoot from what they were trying to make now. And then the second episode does feel like what they originally wanted to do, because it feels very different from the first episode. Because when we get into the first episode, it starts to feel like, we're back in the Netflix Daredevil world. We see Karen, Foggy, and Matt all together being, friends like they used to be. They're at a bar that they seem to have so much memory about that we've never seen before. Looks like they're having a retirement for a guy named Cherry that I do like in the rest of the show at the moment. And it looks like they're just enjoying things. But it looks like we're going back to, Daredevil things. We have Foggy basically protecting someone, and Matt overhears it, and he's ready to suit up as Daredevil. But of course, Foggy never liked Matt being Daredevil, so he tries to get him to, not do it. But Matt is Matt, and he goes to, help whatever way he can. But then that leads me into something that I have like some weird, I'm very back and forth with, which is the fact that this version of Daredevil now basically is very flexible and very acrobatic. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but this is technically supposed to be the same Daredevil as the Netflix version. So it feels like a huge tonal whiplash seeing, a very grounded Daredevil being able to run, flip, use his sticks as like grappling hooks, or use them like Spider-Man spider webs, right? And I'm like, did this Daredevil somehow get even more strength and a much durable body than what he did back then? And you may be saying oh, why are you criticizing it? Aren't you glad that Daredevil is able to move like he does in the comics? Of course I'm glad about that, but it just feels very different, right? And it feels like certain points where the CGI does look weird, because there was this one scene that I know a lot of people were praising, where Daredevil was on top of a building, and behind him was another building with the church's glass going over his head, like he's a halo. And when you look at it as just an image, it does look cool. But the way he gets there, it looked very janky and kind of threw me off. But that could just be me. Maybe it's just that I just noticed the CGI a lot. And I know it's probably because they had a rush while making this episode. Because again, this show right now seems like it's a very compiled mess. But it also looks like we're leading to Bullseye. And we kind of see his costume. And I'm going to be very honest, I've seen the leaks on it, and I'm not a huge fan of it. I never understood the reason of making a supervillain's mask have that basically ski mask instead of their normal masks. I always find that kind of strange. Overall, his bottom costume looks fine, and I like that in his glove you kind of see the Bullseye logo, so that's cool. I hope they change the costume, but by the way the show seemed, I'm not 100% sure. And then it kind of leads me into Daredevil's suit. I wasn't sure if I was going to mention it, but I had also seen his suit in leaks before the show came out, and I was not a fan because of the fact that it was a very bright red and it had black. I am fine with the red. I miss when Daredevil was actually able to, have bright costume. I feel like the black does kind of offset it though, not in a good way. Because at least to me, it feels like they're too drastic. I feel like it could have worked. You didn't have to change anything if you just changed the black to being a more maroon color, so you can kind of allude to, the comic costume where they would shade the boots and gloves a little differently. And I feel like that would make the boots look cooler, because I don't like the black boots they have it. But it looks like in the show they kind of muted the color down because it was at nighttime, and maybe they're going to change the suit, but I'm not sure. But that leads me into what Bullseye does. He shot Foggy. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh my god, they're going to kill him off. Because I knew a lot of the stuff, what they were going to do beforehand, you kind of knew where they was going. But I do love this gut punch they do here, where you slowly hear Foggy's heartbeat from Matt, and it's cool. And the fight between Bullseye and Matt is something that I like was excited about. But again, I feel like because they had more of a budget and because they can use CGI more, it didn't feel real. The fight was cool at points because they can move a lot better. They probably be a lot bit safer, but it did feel like the punches weren't real. And this was supposed to be like a more hyped up hallway fight scene, but instead of like, a hallway, it's like, stairs to go up. And it is cool seeing the lack of empathy that Bullseye has because when he's trying to escape from Daredevil, he is just casually killing people. And you're like, oh my God, these people are just trying to check what's going on. And they immediately get killed. And I'm like, dang. But you see Daredevil doing everything he can to protect him. And that is something I really like. It was cool seeing, all the blades getting all over Daredevil's suit. And that looked painful. That actually did look cool. But while they were going up there, you could hear Foggy's voice, and it started slowing. And when you get up there, and you see Matt is extremely angry at Bullseye, and Bullseye just does not care. And that was cool. That was cool that we got to see the fact that Bullseye has completely lost it. He does not care about trying to act normal or have any empathy, because in the original show, he had basically shown he was a psychopath. But it's also Charlie Cox acting here, being so angry and like basically smiling through the mask while also being angry was really interesting. But then you see that, he lost it because Foggy had died and we saw his last breath or his last heartbeat. And I didn't expect it to be as impactful, even though I basically knew this was going to happen. But with Foggy dying, we see Matt just done with Bullseye, and he just tosses him. And when I first saw that, I'm like, what? That just seemed out of nowhere. Then when you really think about it, he's tired. He's tired of having these morals, and that's his best friend. That's actually something I really was like interested, because normally we see, the hero has their loved one, mostly a love interest, die, and that gives them the motivation, or that makes them, upset. But it's cool seeing, just familial love or having basically a best friend be that reason why this guy, stops being a hero, which is something you don't really see that often. But because we've known Foggy for so long, it does hit that hard. And I think they did that really well, which is why I feel like because they have the Disney budget, but not the time, it kind of ruined some of those parts where like you have like the hallway fight scene or Matt, doing Daredevil things, doing the gymnastic things that you're usually supposed to do. But that's just me. And one thing I'm surprised about, how did Bullseye even survive this? Now, the only way I can even like figure this out as him surviving it at all was the fact that, he had his spine experimented on with some sort of like fictional metal. And I'm not sure if they're changing it from the one they had in there and making adamantium, which is, the one that he has in the comics. But I don't think they're really going to point that out because it looks like he's going to go into jail, as they show later on in this episode. Now, this is where you can kind of tell that they kind of rewrote this show, because this episode completely feels like something they had made so they can lead into the show they were trying to make originally. Because we have literally them just going into 1 year later, not getting into any detail about what happened in between of like Matt grieving, Matt, stopping being Daredevil, or what happened to Karen. All we see is that apparently they're going to go to Bullseye's trial. Matt's there to, tell his side to not let him get out. And we see Karen's there to be there for Foggy, but also to tell Matt that she's going to San Francisco or Chicago. I can't remember which one. And you can also tell that, they're leading to something else, because it looks like Matt has a completely new life. He's basically has his own law firm with this lady named McDuffie, but looks like he's much more successful and is able to have more sustainability in his career, which is kind of sad and ironic that he got more successful without his best friend, which kind of shows that you can have, the success, but without people you love, what's the point? And you can see that it does hurt Matt here. He has this new law partner, but it doesn't look like they're as close, except the part that in this show they're, also bringing this new love interest for Matt. They're having McDuffie set him up with a lawyer, which I don't know too much about her. Looks like they're going to get more in depth with her, but I want to talk about it in a little bit later, because it looks like Wilson Fisk is back, to run for mayor, as he was kind of alluded in the last few times he was there, from Hawkeye to Echo. So there's that. The weird thing about this is that, like, because they're just bringing in the Daredevil continuity as this one, it kind of makes it weird, because we see in the MCU version of Kingpin, he is way stronger. He can survive crashes in the car, or he can rip car doors like it's nothing. So that was weird. But one thing I do like about this is they don't show that strength. They try to show him being a menace psychologically, not physically. He still does the normal Kingpin, but in a very sneakier way. And what's funny is because of all the recovery he had to do because of Echo, basically shooting his eyes, he kind of stopped talking with his wife, with Vanessa, which is so weird because in the last original series, they were very close. She was really messed up too. So it looks like she actually took up his business while he was away. It looks like they had some marital problems that we the point where she basically had an affair with another guy. And I don't think that guy's going to survive, to be honest. Now, there was this one point in this episode where I was back and forth on because they had promoted it so much in advertisings and commercial of Matt and Kingpin talking together because they wanted to check each other's lives, which is so weird seeing the enemies acting like good friends, which maybe because the actual actors are probably friends outside of the show, it's kind of hard to see them as actual, like, more tense. But I do like what they were trying to do, make you more uncomfortable when Kingpin basically tries to threaten Matt with anything because he basically asks him if he has kids. And normally these are weird questions to ask if he's your enemy, but it's like if Matt has kids, Kingpin has a way of blackmailing Matt. He can't blackmail him with money, he can't blackmail him because he's Daredevil. And one thing I like is that Kingpin, because he's a bad person, he basically says, I'm not killing people anymore. Just like you. And Matt's like, I've never killed anyone. And to be honest, that's true. But I like that Kingpin cannot see anyone else not want to kill, if that makes sense. But that's just the way I saw that. And I like that Matt is obviously trying to, make sure that he wants to keep an eye on Kingpin and that, he doesn't want him to be evil. But, of course, Kingpin in this show is trying to be mayor. And that's another thing that I found kind of weird is that he kind of just felt like mayor like that. Like it was nothing. Now, I do feel like it was because of being rushed, as I do feel like this episode was. But they were able to do really well with what they had. Now, one thing I do like, and I was not really a fan of originally, was how they were showing Matt's abilities nowadays. In the last show, they obviously had, Matt, focus his hearing on other people. But in this one, it feels more focused. Like everything will be gone. And it was just the thing he's focusing on. But I do like that. And a little thing that I noticed, at least in the first two episodes, they do a lot, is doing a documentary about what they think about Daredevil in the city and what they're thinking about it. And I so far like that, but I'm feeling they could get annoying at some point unless they do something different with that. But that's just me. That was episode 1 of Daredevil. That episode was a good segue into the second episode because of the fact they were able to take away Karen and Foggy and giving Matt a new life. And in the new episode, you kind of see where the Frankenstein of the show kind of works because we see Matt having a whole new life, basically having a relationship with this therapist. We see Matt still do his normal things, and we get to see a kind of new storyline, which I feel like the reason why they didn't, just scrap and make the show what it was originally was because of the fact of this new guy who's apparently the White Tiger, and the actor had passed away. So I don't think they wanted to just scrap that idea entirely and just leave his entire scenes out, which I understand. It's like it would be really disrespectful if you took out his scenes. And also, I am really fond that they actually were able to have a Latino superhero. As a Latino myself, I know he's not Mexican, but it is nice to see a Latino in general. But in this episode, we get to basically see his trial because we see the White Tiger outside of his suit. If you don't know who the White Tiger is in general, he's basically a superhero that, has an amulet that gives him strength. And this is like a toned down version of like Black Panther for like a tiger. And he fights crime. Now, you may know White Tiger from the Ultimate Spider-Man show where it was his niece, I think it was. And that's the version I grew up with, or the one I knew about. But it looks like we're going with the guy, and that in this version, he was just going to go home. It looked like he had flowers, and he was going to like go home in the subway station, and he saw some guys beating up this random other guy, and he was ready to stop them. And it looked like one was trying to get him from the back, but he had fell and basically got like hit by a train, which that kind of leads me into like the fact that because this is more than like with the Netflix version, they're able to be more brutal and more bloody, which I do appreciate because of how the reputation of Disney Plus shows. So that was like a surprise. But it turned out the guys who were beating up the other guy were cops. So he was arrested. And it looks like Matt, whole thing would be tried to clear the White Tiger's identity. And that's actually one thing that really weirds me out. And I'm actually also kind of find it cool is that the fact that because now this is in the MCU, they can be as obvious about heroes as they want. They can be like, oh yeah, this guy has a magical amulet. He wasn't using it when he was fighting these guys. He should just be exaggerated. And the fact that they were able to just be very chill about that was funny, but weirdly satisfying. I feel like what people think when we criticize that they're always talking about other heroes in other films is that, like, oh, you just don't want to hear about other heroes. No, it's the way they do it. Like here, it's just casually, hey, this guy has superpowers, but he wasn't using them at the time of the attack, right? One thing I like and that I will always love about Matt is that he went to Hector. Is his name Hector? Hector? I forgot. But he went to him to basically see, hey, you're telling the truth. But because they're able to be completely obvious about superheroes around, what is the criteria of a guy, fighting crime in New York City? Because he looked like he was obviously wearing a mask and he was obviously kind of hiding his suit that Cherry basically had to find, which it looks like now that Cherry is actually working with Matt as like his bodyguard or like helper. I'm not sure what his job was, but I do like Cherry so far in the show because he basically found the White Tiger suit and basically had to tell Matt because Matt had realized if he had not known that this guy was the White Tiger, it would have been much worse, which I like that Matt is able to find pieces to help him. But one thing that I found really cool was the fact that, they're able to show the corrupt nature of the police against White Tiger and what he did, because technically by that version he had killed a cop, but it was obviously out of self-defense. But how dangerous the cops can be. It was really cool of the tension that they had there, and showing what they're going to do with the cops is really interesting, which I want to talk about a little later. But it looks like Matt was able to find the guy that was getting assaulted by the cops, so he can basically clear the White Tiger's identity. And if you notice, I have said the White Tiger instead of the character's name. It's kind of because I kind of forgot, so don't hate me. But he had tracked him down and had basically told the guy, "You're our only witness," to basically show the White Tiger had not just randomly had attacked the cops, and you can do so much good. But I love I love that they were able to show that the guy is scared. He's worried about what's going to happen, and we kind of see what's going to happen when we find out that the cop who was a partner of the one that died had come in to basically kill the witness, so the White Tiger could not be free. But it also looks like that these guys that basically beat up the witness are Punisher fans, because it shows one of them had a tattoo of the Punisher logo with the American flag with a stripe on it, which gets me really excited because it looks like they're gonna do the storyline where there's a bunch of cops who take up the Punisher's code and vigilantism of just killing whoever they believe are just actual criminals. The reason why I like this is because it's supposed to show that Punisher does not like these people. He does not like anyone who does the things he does, because to him, if they kill innocent people, they are murderers, and Punisher will kill murderers. It doesn't matter who they are, because Punisher believes that they are above that. That's why they did the code, and Punisher had said he got rid of that. But the fact that they didn't, and they're still using their power to hurt people, it would be so cool to see what Punisher's going to do, because we know that Punisher is going to be in the show. The actor is coming back, but I've heard that he's not going to be there too much, so I'm wondering what they're going to do with him. But back in the show itself, because the cops were coming to kill the witness, Matt had to try to keep his cool, not show anything that's going on, because he's trying to stop being Daredevil. But one thing that I found really interesting was that these cops do not care. They were ready to just beat on a blind person. And if Matt didn't do anything, he would have died. So he basically had to come out with his ninja moves, basically, and fight them. But I think one thing that I really liked and found really gross was the fact that they were able to show bones breaking, the way he moves people, the way he was able to throw someone to a fridge and the head bleeding. And when he beat them up really badly, it looked like he killed them. I don't know how they're going to explain this for the next episode, but it looks like Matt had killed these guys. But I really hope that's not the case, because that's supposed to be Daredevil's thing, that he doesn't kill. And I know that, basically he feels like he did with Bullseye, but he technically didn't kill him, so there's that. But you do notice that, Daredevil has avoided going to his church, probably because he can't talk to someone like Father Lanton, right? The father that died because of Bullseye. But there is his mother, so I don't know why he doesn't talk to her. Maybe there's some Catholic reason why he can't do that. If you're religious, tell me why in the comment down below. I'd really like to know. But it looks like he's going back to his old ways, because he is losing it. He yelled in disbelief. But I really hope he didn't kill them. Now, there is this other plot that seems to be going on with Kingpin, being mayor now, and him changing laws and, doing his mayoral duties or whatever. And this one commissioner from the police was trying to basically say he's going to make Kingpin's life hell, right? To be the worst mayor and not be there that much. But it looks like Kingpin has another leg up because, of course, he's Kingpin. So basically, the commissioner is ready to leave, but Kingpin basically threatens him that he's going to cut funding for any police officers. So, of course, he stays and he's going to try to make Punisher's life hell. The only problem with that is, of course, Kingpin has some dirt on him because it looks like he has his kid hiding somewhere. It looks like it's the commissioner's kid from an affair or something. Which, why isn't there just any good people in New York when it comes to these shows? It looks like we're actually going into Muse, which is supposed to be the main bad guy in the show, which is supposed to be a villain that does graffiti art with blood and like actual human remains, which is disgusting. But we get a scene of him. We see that Matt's girlfriend had done a book signing, and this kid had walked up to her very disturbed, and I'm wondering what they're going to do with him here. And I think that is Muse. But then it also leads to the fact that she turns out to be the therapist to Kingpin and Vanessa, which normally that would seem kind of weird, right? Like just something to happen. My first thought when I first saw that they were doing this was that Kingpin is going to use his silver tongue and try to get the therapist on his side, or maybe Vanessa's going to do the same. And I'm worried that they're going to use her by blackmailing her or basically manipulating her the entire session because, they're them. And it's going to ruin the relationship between Matt and her. Sorry, I've forgotten a lot of their names. I've re-recorded this video many, many times. And I'm feeling like they're doing the therapy session with her specifically to hurt Matt. But that's just my thoughts on that. But hey, those are my thoughts on episode 1 and 2. Now, if my thoughts have seemed kind of scattered, it's because, again, I had re-recorded this video multiple times, figuring out how I'm going to talk about this, because there's a lot to the show, but there's also a lot of nothing at points, and I didn't know which parts I wanted to talk about. And it's been a while for me talking about shows episode by episode again, but I wanted to get back to that, so if you like this video, please let me know in the comments down below. I read all your comments, and you want to see more, like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can see when these videos come out. But if there's nothing else, this has been Doodlemite. I hope everyone stays dirty, and I hope to see everyone in the next video. Bye!